News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth, darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And Allan, just for you, I know we're still celebrating National Sandwich Month, but for you, I'd like to wish you a very happy National Sponge Cake Day.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait a minute. Okay. Sponge cake, I'm trying to remember what the deal with sponge cake is. Is it just more...
It's a Twinkie.
It's a Twinkie. Okay. All right. Hey, Allan, where do you land with that? Because you have your own particular thing about the sponge, as they say in the Great British Baking Show. So.
Sponge.
Well, you know, it's got to be properly made of... You know, they're tasty. They're good. And yes, Twinkies do have an expiration date, just like they say in the zombie movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it is probably the go-to thing if you're trying to, get the food that's going to last the longest in the apocalypse. So, but anyway, all right. Well, that's not bad, Max. I'm sure people have their own opinions about sponge cakes. So, well, Allan, here we go. I was looking. Okay, well, let's just start with the. I'm beginning to categorize Allan's week in review as I look at it as either civilized or uncivilized or unhinged or something. I would have to say, based on the pictures you sent, it looks like a fairly civilized week, unless I missed something.
It was a week of massive progress.
Okay, good.
You go through, whenever you're doing a major project, you hit certain points where you're not doing sexy work.
Right.
You're just sweating, toiling, and it doesn't look like you're getting anywhere.
Oh, I know the type.
And 60% of the job, 70% of the job is like that. But then you get to the light gravel part of the road where all four tires have got a good grip, and now you're doing the stuff that looks good.
And it looks like you got something done at the end of the day.
Oh, it looks amazing. You feel so much better. It took all that hard work to get here.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like it accelerates. It looks good. Now, when people walk in, they don't look at it and go, well, what are you doing? They walk in now and go, oh, that looks amazing. That looks amazing.
Okay. So we got that on Allan's week in review. Okay, good. So something a little optimistic to look forward to. Allan, okay, well, we have a lingering 30 years of stupid that we never wrapped up last week from about putting indoor wood trim on the outside, which is one of my big pet peeves. However, this came home to me. I have a 73 years of stupid in my own home. I sent you pictures, remember?
Yep, you did.
And we'll discuss that. It's about, I'm convinced that this problem has been there since they built my house. So
very possible.
I don't see how it couldn't be, honestly. I don't know what else. So, okay, I have another cosmic homeowner segment that it's interesting, and we're going to call this the strategic use of light and stone. And maybe stone needs to be incorporated a little more into our home design for the just the natural properties of stone, and maybe just making our house more energy efficient and beautiful. Let's just say that. So, and I really hope we can get to this harmonious home that that's a segment we've been working on for 3 weeks and we still haven't got to it. So there's a lot more, and we have something from the mind of Max, who's piggybacking on your tale of woe with atriums. Well, atriums come in all shapes and sizes. You just happen to be getting the mini atriums, but
I had the Easy Bake Oven. Yeah.
Some atriums aren't so bad. Some of them are actually kind of cool. So maybe we can talk about the pros and cons of an actual atrium. Is that what you were thinking, Max? Or
well, to be a little bit more specific, the ones that I've seen that are the quote unquote the most successful or the most aesthetically pleasing are the atrium hotels in Atlanta.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I've been to all of those. Yeah, I've been to all of those.
I wanted to talk to Allan about the logistics of certain things. I'm a greenery.
Okay, and hopefully it'll lead to a Dragon Con story because we've been to that hotel. I know the one you're going to talk about, Allan.
Many times.
All of us have been there, even you, Max, right? So
I've made the terrible mistake, speaking of greenery, of during Dragon Con of wearing a ghillie suit in the middle of the heat.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that. We have a lot to get to. So, but before we get to any of those things, let's get to our must-have item of the week, which we have dutifully posted. Allan, I had to clean this thing up. This looks like it was laying in the back of your truck. This is an indoor facility. So, I guess tell people what I've got here. So,
You have a roll of professional grade duct tape.
and let's just do this for the microphone. That signature sound everybody knows. I mean,
yeah,
how
so-
does anybody live with that? How did we get by as a society without duct tape?
How did we get by without AC and toilets?
Yeah.
We had rope, but duct tape of. All right, there is actually a brand, DUCK, but the tapes is actually spelled DUCT,
right.
and it is designed actually originally to hold ducts together. And because this is a tape that you're going to use and forget, it was designed to be very durable. And now it comes in aluminized colors, aircraft grade, pro grade, theater grade. There is an entire pantheon of duct tapes. To the point, I even know a guy that makes Halloween costumes out of it.
Doesn't sound very comfortable, man. You're not breathing in that.
They're
Talk about a
virtually
non-breathable fabric.
I tell you, they're virtually indestructible, but they look really good.
So I mean, and duct tape comes in all strengths and all different colors, different finishes, different whatever. But let's just get down to brass tacks, Alan. Okay, there is some uses of duct tape. If you put something in duct tape and you forget about it and you want to take that tape off in 5 or 6 months, unless you want to, and especially if it's outdoors, forget it, man. It's going to leave a residue that I don't care what solvent you use, man. It does not want to come off.
Nope, that is the point of duct tape.
Yeah, but I find it ironic because these days when, it's called duct tape, it's branded duct tape, DUCT, but nobody uses that for that. You don't, because they have an improved duct. They have like you said, an aluminized tape that's actually got aluminum on it. That's the proper one. So it seems to me that a branding, maybe it needs to be rebranded, I suppose. But I guess at this point, how do you do that?
Well, at this point, everybody understands this is the third hand.
Yes. I mean,
you need to hold two 2x4s together and you don't have any clamps. Guess what? Wrap that baby in duct tape. It ain't going anywhere till you get the screws done or you've got your carriage bolt installed.
Right.
You need to hold up lights for tonight. You got to strap them to a wide variety of things. Well, congratulations, you got duct tape.
Yeah.
The third hand sounds like a cryptic secret society.
Yeah.
Beware the third hand.
For people that truly embrace the duct tape, I'm going to tell you, it's like a secret society of everybody has a million uses for this stuff. I've used it to level tables. Just fold it up, make a little cushy square out of it. Make it the size of the little dot under the table, slide it underneath there, and the table's balanced. I've used it to one time we actually made a chair and a litter out of duct tape and 2 sticks.
Yeah.
We had to get somebody out of the woods, and we had a roll of duct tape and a couple of poles. Guess what? It became a litter, and it carried a 200-pound person with no problem.
And ask the crew from Apollo 13 about duct tape. Would they have gotten back to Earth without that? I mean,
I don't think we could have got to space without duct tape.
There you go.
This is just one of those tools. And I mean, we think of tools, we think of, some metal thing or something like that. But this is just such a ubiquitous product. We don't even think about it. If you don't have a roll of duct tape, you just don't know what you've been missing. Because this is just that patch, that substance, that filler that you need.
And let me ask you this, too, because when it comes to duct tape, well, really any tape, but I see this with duct tape a lot, too. It really matters where you store the stuff, too. If you put it in your garage that gets to be 120 degrees and 90% humidity or whatever,
it's gonna
don't come and grab
icky.
your
it's gonna get a little icky.
It's gonna disintegrate and everything. But also I would say, it is not the only tape out there. In other words,
no.
I feel like you should be well versed in tape, especially if you've got kids or if you're a homeowner, because I use electrical tape a lot more for certain applications because it doesn't leave that residue typically. I mean, in most
Oh, if you
situations.
leave it long enough, it will.
Right. But in some, I've used duct tape. Yeah, I've used duct tape to fix a sledgehammer handle in a pinch. And
Well,
I can't pretend I didn't leave it on there for 6 months afterwards.
The strangest use I've ever used electrician's tape for was taping an alligator's mouth shut.
There you go.
So,
Well, it's more comfortable for the alligator. It's got some flexibility.
Even it goes real fast. It's a small roll of tape.
Okay.
Of, blue tape, or we call painter's tape, blue tape or masking tape. These are tapes that are designed to release easily. So, in the pantheon of stuff you're probably going to have in the toolbox, you should have a roll or two of actual rated electrician's tape.
Right.
And what I mean by that is there is knockoff. You should have the stuff that's rated.
Okay, perfect. So there you go. Our must-have item of the week, a roll of heavy-duty duct tape. So, all right, when we come back, we're going to do another one of our Cosmic Homeowner segments all about the strategic use of light and stone.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
There's something about an underdog that really inspires the unexceptional.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, today is National Sponge Cake Day. And actually, I was thinking of something, Allan. I don't know why in my head I was confusing sponge cake with pound cake. But it's not the same. Well, I mean, pound cake's very dense, right? It's got more butter. I mean, it tastes good, but
actually, they are kissing cousins because one is designed to be very, very thick. Mm-hmm. The sponge cake, however, is what happens when you whip your eggs with sugar and make it fluffy.
Okay, it feels lighter to me.
It's about 75% air.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why. So it's healthier. You're getting your oxygen in there.
Yeah.
So sponge cake is a health food, is what you're saying.
You go right ahead with that. You believe what you want to believe.
Okay, and then but it's ironic because angel food cake's very dense, right? So it's sweeter and less good for you. So okay.
Well,
I don't know. Angel food cake's not my go-to. I have to be honest.
You don't like the leathery texture that it bakes up with?
No. So, but anyway, if you're out there and you've got if you've had an epic cake, send us a picture or something.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, Max, let's get to the Cosmic Homeowner, and he's got some. Let's see. I like that. And this is
sort of. You want to know what it's called?
Go ahead.
It's called Ninja Domination.
I know you can't resist. Max lives for this, finding new hotkeys and new music. No, I like this, Max. This might be. We'll workshop it and see how it goes. But if you haven't heard Tool Talk Radio in a few weeks, we've introduced a new segment that we're calling the Cosmic Homeowner, which only means it's nothing psychedelic. All we're talking about is we are part of a planet, a planetary system, and the planet Earth is very dynamic. We're on top of shifting tectonic plates. We have radiation from the sun. We're traveling through the galaxy at how many miles an hour? 60,000 miles an hour?
Yeah, 19,000 miles per second, some
crazy number.
Yeah.
And yet we have to make a stable home in this environment. And so being more aware of that is important.
Well, and just to add to that, a house in Georgia got hit by an asteroid not too long ago.
Oh, I thought I saw something like that. Yeah. You talk about, man.
It turns out the asteroid's older than the Earth.
There you go.
There you go.
So
that's a cosmic neighborhood for you.
I don't know if even Jay Hill could make a roof that's going to withstand that. I mean,
but he can fix it once it's been punctured.
Okay, there you go. So, and it doesn't have to be a big asteroid. This thing could be the size of a marble.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, but here's what I was thinking, and I'm always happy to admit that I'm constantly learning. So, okay, this I was at a customer's house, and I had to go to the kitchen and throw something in the garbage can. Big deal.
Okay.
She's got a pull-out garbage can, but what was interesting is she has white marble countertops, and as I was approaching the garbage, it's one of those, it's a pull-out cabinet. Well, the border of this cabinet, of the cabinet door, it was glowing like something from Poltergeist or something,
Right.
And I'm like, it's odd. Why would you install a light inside of your garbage thing? I've seen lights in other cabinets. Anyway, I pulled it open, and it was as bright as day in there. It was really bright inside this thing. And I looked up, and sure enough, I knew you could see through marble. Like, I've seen thin shavings of marble where
Right.
they make a glass bulb, or and they make like like a chandelier or something out of it. This is 1.25 inches thick, Alan, and I could see right through it.
Yes.
I didn't realize marble was that translucent.
It can be.
Okay, I mean, it was cool.
Not all varieties are. It depends upon the level of inclusion.
Talk to me. Okay.
Okay, so when you go buy marble and you're walking through the rock or tile store, whatever you're at, you're going to see the point to marble is it has all these wild patterns in it.
Yeah.
Like somebody went
it's
crazy
natural
with a brush.
art, basically. Right. Yeah.
All right, those are inclusions, aka those are other minerals that seeped in to the marble while it was forming.
Oh, I see.
The marble itself is the white stuff.
Okay.
And then you have all of the patterns and inclusions that go with it. So it is basically a translucent stone. Translation, light can shine through it.
And so I don't know. I mean,
It's not going to go through a foot of it, but if you've got the right, depending upon the marble you have, yes, light can shine through.
Well, I'm like, to me, I don't know. I mean, because I've seen pieces of art that are marble and everything.
Right.
And okay, but I'm wondering if we're underutilizing this, because I was just thinking how interesting this would be to be, instead of maybe a stained glass window, you have a slab of marble somewhere, even if it's maybe a panel in your house, like replacing a part of a wall and light plays through. I don't know, something about it, because the other, but now this is
Welcome to the Roman Empire, Joe.
Exactly. So it's like, because I was thinking about it, if they had marble walls, like they didn't have sheetrock, they might have had marble slabs up on the wall, and it would allow sun to come through.
I have a friend with a white marble bathroom.
There you go. So
It is the bathroom from the Winter Queen of Narnia. And the reason I say that is that because all summer long, her bathroom doesn't need air conditioning.
Okay, that was my next. That was my next thing. I was like, okay, because stone has its own properties, and what it got me thinking about. I was thinking about the decorative aspect, but then I was also remembering, and I don't know if this is a home that Frank Lloyd Wright built or not, but it was in the Chicago area, which as we know, gets extreme temperature change. And they had in the center of this home, and this is a home that was built in like the 50s or something. There was a giant stone wall. And people said, well, what the heck is this for? Well, that stone wall was very strategically placed. They had it in a position where in the winter, you open it, it had it had just floor-to-ceiling glass. And so in the winter, you opened it up and you allowed the sun to hit this stone, and it basically worked as a radiator. It stored the heat, and then it radiated heat throughout the home, and they barely spent anything on their heating bill.
Right.
And then in the winter, they pulled the shades, and it stored cold air. I mean, stored cool.
Right.
And it radiated cool. And I'm like, that is interesting to me. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we've talked about how as home design evolves, it probably needs to go back to nature a little bit. I mean, this is just straight up nature heating and cooling your home.
Well, this is everything old is new again. This is why when you go back in antiquity, you found so much stone. I mean, they could have been using mud or adobe or something. You know, there were a wide variety of building materials available throughout human history. However, we seem to find in certain areas the winners.
Yeah,
so
the ones that prevail.
Right. Yep. As we're excavating, we're going to say the quote-unquote Western civilizations, Greece, Rome, that type of thing, you do find a lot of marble because the lower the closer to the equator you got, the more stonework like marble that you found, because it operates cooler than the air temperatures around it. Of the further north you got, you ran into more basalts and granites and stuff like that because they stored temperature well. This is why subterranean living is so interesting in the fact that a cave generally operates around 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
And it doesn't get too hot or too cool. We talked, a year or so ago about that community in Australia where literally the outside temperatures are like 120 degrees, and they all live in subterranean homes. They don't have heat or air conditioning because the temperature is always about 70.
That is the city of Cooper Pedy,
right?
And that is an opal mining town. And so while you're adding an addition on, you might also stumble across opals.
There you go. Yeah, you might hit it big. you go, I'm going to carve out a new guest room, and suddenly you...
one guy was actually building a bedroom for his mother-in-law and happened to cross the largest opal he'd ever found.
There you go.
So she never let him forget that. So yeah, incorporating of your heavier materials.
Yeah.
Your bricks, your tiles, your stonework of different stones, different properties. Marble is even responsible for a couple of ice cream companies out there.
That was my question. So, is marble a good stone for storing heat and cooling? Or?
It is a good stone for dissipating heat, which is why fudge companies and ice cream companies like marble.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I would just say let's open our mind to more stone in the home design from the point of view of the art, but also the function. So
absolutely.
All right. So art and function. Well, I hope this came into play this week with Allan's Week in Review. Either way, we're going to find out when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
All these science fears are made of asbestos, by the way. Keeps out the rats. Let us know if you feel a shortness of breath, a persistent dry cough, or your heart stopping, because that's not part of the test. That's asbestos.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I always wonder what asbestos did to you. I mean, that was pretty educational, actually, Max. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we had another segment of our cosmic homeowner discussion talking about the strategic use of light and stone. Mostly stone we were talking about. But, hey, Allan, before we move on, you had actually really a good suggestion about marble. Maybe this is from an artistic point of view, right? Like an outdoor.
Well, let's say instead of a picture window, if you wanted a stone art piece in the middle of a room, instead of a picture window, have a picture slab of marble, 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, because of if it's good and translucent, like a nice white marble, you would also see all of the shadows and stuff interplaying across it as the sun moved through the sky, or a good full moon.
There you go. So, and actually, you could put this in the backyard. You could put it in. It's out.
Yes.
It's a stone. It can handle being outside.
It can handle it.
Just think about, so I would just say let's start incorporating, and it's a natural piece of art, too. So, anyway, and we'd love to hear your suggestions, too, as far as what you would do with, how you've incorporated marble into your life. So, in a minute, we're going to find out what Allan did this week. But before we do that, let's talk about our good friends over at Groundworks. They are all about now I don't think we have marble foundations yet, right? I don't know if the Romans did that or not, but okay. So they probably don't deal with that, but in every other case, they are all about the health of the foundation of your home. And we primarily, basically, our foundations consist of either a concrete slab or a basement or a crawl space or a combination of all of those. I don't think they deal with homes that are up on stilts. That sounds like more of a California thing. But
I bet they can.
Maybe they can't. But
I bet they can.
But foundation problems, they never get better with age. They always have to. You have to address your foundation issues, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. But you need trained experts to help you determine the health of your foundation. So. This is what you need to do. Call Groundworks. Get in touch with them. It's a free inspection. They come out. They're going to bring all of their detecting equipment, and they're going to basically. It's kind of like a comprehensive health check for your foundation. when the inspection is over, they're going to show you the results they found, and if there are issues that have to be addressed, they can, they can handle anything from the smallest problem to the largest. But foundation problems, you may not know if you have a foundation problem. Maybe they manifest themselves in unusual ways. Maybe you have this odd lingering smell in one part of your home, like a mildewy smell, or squeaking floors, or those weird stair step cracks on your bricks and above your doors. Any of those could indicate a problem. So get in touch with our friends over at Groundworks. You can call them at 901-459-2290 or go to groundworks.com today and book your free inspection. Okay, Allan. Well, let's turn the corner here.
Oh, the humanity. I like where this corner is leading to.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's time for Allan's Week in Review, and we're gonna find out. I mean, based on the pictures I saw, I didn't see anything too shocking. So, unless you're saving that for on the air. Here,
I save a little bit of that for on the air because we did have to disassemble and reassemble a doorway and this is when you discover how out of whack your house really is.
That's interesting. Are you talking about an interior door?
I'm talking about an interior door
It's interesting you say that. You're right.
All right, a absolutely properly installed house should never settle.
Really?
It should
no
never
settling,
settle.
huh?
There should be no settling. If the soil was compacted properly, if the foundation was poured, and I mean, we're not even talking 1 out of 1,000. We're talking maybe 1 out of 1,000,000 actually is perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
All the rest of us live in a house that becomes, I think there was a movie called Beetlejuice where everything turns sideways.
Oh, there you go.
Your house twists and turns and does strange things. So the door won't latch.
Mm-hmm.
Just the door won't latch. All right, well, let's take it apart. And of course, everybody's looking at me like, what are you doing? It's like, all right, we're going to take these screws out here and we're going to snatch this off. And we're going to, and when you got in there, everybody's kind of like, all right, nothing's square. This 2x4 is kind of warped that direction. This one goes a little this way. This one, I was like, that's exactly correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a square up frame inside of the door frame. So we had to go back through and through some creative cutting because there were some angles. And you do add a little of this and take a little away here and there. And when we rehung the door, lo and behold, everything matched up perfectly. And now the door does the most important part of the program.
Yeah.
It actually latches properly. You close the door and it goes click, nice and smooth. And this is just part and parcel of having a house. If you've got a 2-story house, I guarantee the second story is nowhere near as plumb 20 years later as it was when it was built.
It's shifting, huh? It's
the wood, as you and I both know, with humidity, the wood expands and, contracts and moves. And this is why you hear little creaks in your house at night, especially right around between 9 and 12.
It is interesting how it's like maybe the house is cooling off, and so things are compressing,
and things kind of creak a little bit, and and this is why when you go through the attic and you go, well, how did that nail work itself almost completely out of the board? Well, it's been doing it for however long it's been there. It's expanding, contracting, and things get loose.
And the metal's expanding and contracting, and they're doing it at different rates. The wood's expanding one way, so yeah, that's why we always always use screws for your sheetrock and screws for your deck boards and things like that. So.
And if you've got an older home, it's not a bad idea to go back through some of these joints and add a screw.
Can I say, I want to back up though, because you talked about your door that you hung, and what's interesting to me is because in your business, there's a lot of times where you're training people, or
Yes.
you've got assistants that are learning this, you know, which you just mentioned that you pulled off the door trim and suddenly they're amazed that this thing is not square and it's
Nope.
it's out of whack, and there's probably little pieces of shim and stuff inside of it, right? And it's like, and I think as a homeowner, one of the most deceptive things is like if you're one of these DIY people and you want to just get in there and do it yourself. I mean, I'm all for that, but you better educate yourself, because doors and windows, you don't just get a door and put it in and put the trim. It's almost like there's a lot of geometry, and there's a lot of, and nothing's level, and you're putting almost like a floating situation in, and if
it is 3-dimensionally level.
Right,
So-
right. And if that door is out of whack by 1/8 of an inch, it's not closing.
It's not going to close. It's going to have gaps.
Right.
It's going to have problems. It's going to be out of whack. And so there's just a lot to this, and this is also when you discover, because in another place in the building, we're putting in custom baseboards.
Okay. Custom, what do you mean? Like just these are a little
These
snazzier than...
these are a particular type of wood the homeowner wants. So everything has to be sanded, painted, installed, touched up. So, I mean, it's not just the regular baseboard. You go down to the big box store. This is
So don't mess it up.
well, I think it's actually more forgiving to start from scratch. It just takes longer because now you got to sand it and paint it and get it ready and then install it.
Well, you got angles to consider. How thick is this? Like, how tall is this baseboard?
4-inch.
That's okay.
It's-
So it's
it's
not
an-
nuts. It's not like an 8-inch
It's
baseboard.
not like an
or something.
8-inch,
Okay.
crown molding put across the floor.
Okay.
Although I have done that, but there's just a lot of, and this is where you discover the corner of the building, that corner of that room.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really at 90 degrees anymore. Or the other one we discovered that just kind of my crew about lost their mind was, it says we need a 34 by 82 section to put this door in.
Okay.
Well, we got 81 inches.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what idiot measured this? What else? I said, all right, look at your floor. How many floors are we standing on? Well, there's a base.
Yeah.
There's a subfloor. And then they had to re-level because this is an add-on. So the floor on this side where we're trying to get the door in is probably 2 inches thick, whereas the subfloor you're standing over on this side is 1 inch thick, and then you got a flooring on top of that. So it eats into your space, so you're constantly having to make adjustments. So the trick here is you got an older home, and that door, you're not haunted. The door pops open.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite one on ghost shows.
Oh, yeah.
We all know I have a little side business, telling you your house ain't haunted.
It makes sense to me if the latch is barely attached and then the
Bingo.
house contracts, in
It
the middle of the
moves
night,
or
all of a sudden,
wiggles
boom.
just that little bit, and
Right.
boink, that door comes open.
Okay. All right. Well, pretty good. And actually, you're educating as you go. So you got the job done, and some minds were expanded. So.
Doing what I can.
Okay. I hope we continue the mind expansion when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Pay the price for your lack of vision.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we were finding out what Allan did this week, which it sounds like a central part of it was fixing doors that weren't hung correctly. And you had to take everything off. And we were learning that too. Doors are a big deal to put in. They're not something that you're going to get done in 20 minutes.
Oh, no.
Typically. No. And it's really not for rookies. I hate to say it because it looks deceptively simple.
Well, you go to the big box store and you look at the pre-made, pre-hung door. Mm-hmm. And you look at that and you go, man, how hard can that be?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to find out because your house is waiting on you to try. Just understand as your home ages, just like you do, your body changes as you get older, so does your house.
Right.
So one of my favorite things coming up, and of course, Halloween is approaching. I know it's only August, but it's never too late to talk about Halloween. And everybody loves to talk about spooky stories and ghosts and how the house is haunted. And I am, unfortunately, Captain Buzzkill when it comes to my house is haunted because, well, late at night, the bedroom door pops open by itself.
Right.
All right, well, that's your house twisting.
Yeah.
Houses don't twist. Oh, yes, they do. Yes,
they don't listen to Tool Talk Radio, obviously. So, yeah.
Your house moves more during the day than you. It's kind of like when the first time you watch a nature film and they have like the time-lapse photography of like a tree. Mm-hmm. And you're like, in the time-lapse in 24 hours, it looks like the tree is listening to the radio and boogieing down. Because that baby is everywhere. But when you stand there and look at him, he's absolutely still and doesn't do anything.
Right.
Well, guys, welcome to your house. Over a time-lapse photography in a exact spot, your house is going to move.
There you go. So, but one last little thing about doors, because it really is. It's one of those things where, you might tap in that maybe the door works perfectly and you go, okay, I got it hung correctly. Then you go to tap in the door trim or something, and now it doesn't close because you just knocked that out of what, I don't know. It's a finesse job. That's all I'll say.
Is.
And especially with an outside door, because now there's no room for error. You have thresholds and you have weather stripping, and if you don't hang it correctly, you're going to have a big draft.
You got about a 16th of an inch tolerance.
Yeah. So anyway, but that I thought that was pretty good. Doors are an important topic. So, all right, well, let's shift gears now.
And now, a deep cut with Maximilian.
All right, so Allan, last
better thing.
Yeah, you were talking about these atrium. Well, for lack of a better term, these are cottages that are 10 feet apart, and they stuck a little atrium in the middle. But anyway, Max, you wanted to piggyback on this. So
Well, I wanted to piggyback on, rather than atriums gone wrong, atriums gone right.
There
or
you go.
Gone better. Because I was going on a deep dive last week into atrium hotels, and boy, do they look very interesting to me. And I have memories of atrium hotels for when I went to Atlanta for Dragon Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Dragon Con is one of the biggest conventions in America. It's my favorite, Allan. It's, people talk about the San Diego Comic Con, but that's crammed into one convention space. Dragon Con is spread out throughout the downtown, and the Marriott Hotel is probably the one you're talking about, right, Max?
Well, among the other fleets of hotels, I'm talking about the fleets of hotels in Atlanta by developer and architect John Portman, who was the every now and then partner of another person who innovated atriums by the name of Trammell Crow, which is a very Texas-sounding name.
Great name.
And he has there are a lot of Memphis connections to that. Okay, so let's go back in time. We did a salute several years ago to the TP.
Oh, yeah, that's
okay,
right.
Why? Why did we talk about the TP?
Airflow?
Well, among other things, you could have a fire inside your tent and not die because it had a hole in the top. Welcome to why we have atriums. One of the best examples is the Fontaine House here in Memphis. It's a Victorian. And when you walk into the main lobby, you can see all the way up to the top 4 stories. And the idea here is that you opened a window on the bottom story, you opened a window on the top story, and now you have got air motion up and down this ventilation shaft in the center. Now, this also gave you an opportunity to show off. So you could have artwork, you could have balconies. A lot of places like to grow things.
That's exactly what I was kind of also curious about, too, because from the logistical standpoint, having things growing indoors is so much more difficult because of the way that, they had to, fine-tune which plants could actually be used indoors, because there were some plants that would be in dormancy and they would die, stuff like that.
Yep. Okay.
And plant doesn't want anything too sanitary, right, Allan? I mean, you've got cleansers, you've got all these things happening inside of a big space.
So here's what happened. As we discovered tropical plants, we discovered certain plants don't like sunlight. They like filtered secondary light because they grow on the forest floor of a tropical forest, and they don't get sunlight.
They don't want to be sunburned.
They actually will sunburn. So this is where a lot of your tropical plants, or what we call house plants, come from these days. And greenery is always good. There are a number of house plants, like I'm thinking the snake plant right off the top of my head, that are good at removing a wide variety of chemicals from the air. So, like in a hotel, but here's your problem with anything you're trying to grow in the house. Soil is not sanitary.
Right.
Soil is supposed to have bacteria and funguses and stuff growing in it. Soil is also supposed to be spongy. There's supposed to be decay, and it gives off gases. So that is why gardening inside in an atrium basically means in some of these hotels, they literally have gardeners on staff.
Oh, yeah.
And that is all they do all day long is water, check, feed, clean up around, and take care of all of those plants. Now, it's worth a lot of money to the hotel to make sure their greenery is in good shape. Now, the atriums we're talking about are generally now closed atriums. So they're environmentally controlled. They're not the little easy bake ovens I was in last week.
Yeah.
Because these were atriums that were open to the air, and they were simply too small.
Right.
Now, an atrium can also be an interior courtyard, which has enough room in it to get some airflow, and it's just not a little baking box.
Because that's the reason that they built atriums, because Portman lived pre-AC, and he figured, if I put a hole down the center of the building, people will not only come out to talk, but they'll be able to move air through the building.
Yes. So you could, in theory, just put a big fan at the top of it and recirculate the warm air from the top all the way back down through the building. So you would have an air circulation because, of course, warm air is going to rise, cool air is going to fall. So welcome to a massive amount of understanding of thermodynamics, airflow, and aesthetics. Because the big trick now for architects that are building these amazing commercial atriums is they want to utterly wow and dazzle you. When you walk out in the middle and look up, you should see something you don't see at home. And the hotels in Atlanta are an excellent example of hotels that really lean heavily into, we'll call them atrium aesthetics.
And what I kind of like, just as a brief aside before we go to break, I like the fact that the people who first picked up on these weren't the big shots like Bill Marriott or Conrad Hilton. It was Don Pritzker, who was the up and comer for the Hyatt.
Yes,
that picked up on it and they got big.
Well, let's continue this when we come back, because atriums are pretty cool. And but hour one of Tool Talk Radio is in the can. But stay tuned. We're coming back for our second hour.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Excuse me. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, today is National Sponge Cake Day. I hope everybody is celebrating with a good solid cake. I mean, my go-to is obviously a chocolate cake, Allan. Although the marble has its appeal as well. But don't wait. Are you supposed to over whip it or under whip it? I don't remember the batter.
For a sponge cake, you want it light and airy, so you're gonna whip the bejesus out of it.
Okay, well, whip away then.
Yep.
So. Okay, and if you've got any particular cake memories, I mean, all of us can remember some special cakes in our life, I'm sure. So, but before the break, we were talking from the mind of Max. I don't know, Max, maybe you were trying to. Allan has had a lot of problems with badly done atriums, and for the reality is these are, I guess you can technically call them atriums, but these are little enclosures around a couple of houses that are just really causing you a lot of problems. However, we're celebrating we're celebrating the proper use of atriums, and we're talking big constructions, and we were kind of leaning into the some of the hotels that we saw when we've gone to Dragon Con in downtown Atlanta. I'm sure a lot of people here in Memphis have been there. The Marriott is the one that jumps out of my mind. Max, is that the one? Because that's Allan. That's got to be 30 stories tall, right, or maybe more.
Oh, easily, yes.
And you're looking up, and it does create a dramatic effect, but.
The Marriott Marquis Hotel in Atlanta is 50 stories.
50, and you look straight up, and I don't know if it has a glass ceiling, but it goes way up. And what I appreciate about that space is it creates an immediate sense of energy, and it's, I don't know, it creates energy, and it's interesting the way people interact when you're in a hotel or when you're in a space with an atrium. It just feels much more interconnected. Right. Everybody is there. When you step out of your room, you're stepping out, looking out into an atrium. And so I think it creates a cool community feel.
Well, height creates space.
Yeah.
So you may not have a huge lobby, but if it's a nice high lobby, you get really interesting perspective.
Right.
If you go to a historical place like the Chattanooga Choo Choo,
I've never been there, but I know you've visited.
I've been there many, many, many times. Of absolutely fascinating looking at the ironwork that they have above you, because they've opened it all up so you get to see all the way up to the ceiling, all the way up to the actual roof. Of another little side effect of how the atrium has snuck into everyday homes. A number of homes in the 60s and a number of homes in the 80s, and some new construction as well, have adopted the studio loft.
A loft is similar. Yeah, you're right. You're overlooking something, or
right. It generally is a side room or a bedroom or an office that overlooks the living room. So usually you have a very tall, 2-story tall living room with access to additional availability upstairs. But again, the whole idea is that this whole thing is open and creates a scale of space that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, it's not as bracketed off or anything. We've seen some of the older homes, and I guess by necessity, they were all almost like cubicles, like here's a door here, here's a door to the dining room, here's a door to the kitchen, and you can close off every section, but that probably had to do more with, climate control and things like that. But now we can go the opposite way and open spaces up, and so.
Well, it just depends upon social norms of the time. There was a point in time where, basically everybody on the planet smoked. The men smoked their cigars over here and you closed off that area, and the women smoked their cigarettes over here and you closed off that area because the kids were playing in the back, and and as the world changes, we're getting back to a point now where we enjoy the more open areas. We enjoy the less living room, dining room, atrium, sitting room. Now we have great rooms.
Right. I wanted to ask you about something, and Max, I don't know if this is something that you might have an opinion on too, but when you guys were talking about atriums earlier, where there's plants, there could be trees. You could have an atrium with almost its own little, garden area and trees, and I'm like, okay, well, to me, you're creating almost your own individual ecosystem, and so a knowledgeable gardener. I guess I'm always thinking of like this as a recipe. These plants interact with each other, and these plants might not like each other, or these plants may really like each other or something. So it seems to me you need somebody that really has a thorough understanding. And maybe if you create the right kind of interior environment, there may even be health benefits to, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking of breathing in all that,
Well, Joe, all of the above.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think a little bit of our great moments in building history we had a while back where we saluted Antoni Gaudi, because he, again, lived in pre-AC times, and he lived in Spain and Barcelona. And Barcelona has probably wonderful wind. And so he wanted to capture the wind and create his structures in such a way to capture the wind and allow for proper airflow.
There
And
you
that
go.
would probably make you a lot healthier if you lived in a place like that.
Yeah. Work with nature and everything. But yeah, I wondered, it's almost like you could be, I'm just thinking of like a chemist or like or really like almost like a chef. You're creating a certain interior, it's a controlled interior ecosystem that you get to build yourself, basically.
In a lot of ways. If you want one of the best examples of that, the Aquarium of the Americas in Chattanooga, Tennessee, actually has a Great Smoky Mountains inside the building on the top floor.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So you go all the way up, and then you're going to go through all the rivers of the world as you come down.
Mm-hmm.
But you go all the way up, and inside of it is just like being in the mountain you see outside the window.
Yeah.
They got little critters living up there. They got quail. They got box turtles. They got, worms and lizards and things. And it's all a complete ecosystem inside on the top floor of this thing.
Okay. Well, I have to say personally, I am a fan of atriums done well. I think they're just cool. I think they create a neat space. So.
Well, I like the idea of what John Portman originally said with his design. He said people come, he likes the idea of like building a space. He wanted to create a space for them to be in, like to actually want to be in, because it's like at the time, it wasn't like a grand philosophy. He just wanted people to feel like open and welcome and everything. And I think having amenities in the center is kind of the way to go. And there's some future great moments in building history, I think, out of this discussion, because there's a hotel in Colorado called the Brown Palace, and then there's one in French Lick, Indiana, that has a 200-foot diameter atrium that looks pretty impressive. And so I think we got a little bit more mileage out of this than we think.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So, okay, so we're celebrating the atrium. We're not atrium haters, although Allan has had his beefs with some badly designed atriums, but pretty good, Max. I like that. But hey, before we move on, I think we have a text we have to address. So,
well, we do have a text. Well, several, other than Denise wishing us a good morning and happy Saturday, but that's not the question.
Okay.
Well, good morning to you.
Max, you told me to remind you of something, and now I'm reminding you to remind me. Isn't there something special you want people to do when they send us a text?
Well, when you send us a text, folks, please start your text with TTR. It makes it so that we can get your text on the air a little bit more easily.
Oh, okay. Because we do get texts from other shows and stuff. So yeah, just hit TTR. But okay, go ahead, Max.
But Brew Blaster said, this is in relation to my daily deviation with Curious George. He said that he had a Curious George IP that is over 50 years old from his childhood.
Awesome.
And he said, thank you for your memory, for the memory, Max.
All right, Brew Blaster. So Brew Blaster's got a little sentimentality in him.
Well,
not like you, Allan.
Okay.
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 No. Well,
I can't argue that.
No, but okay, thanks, Brew Blast. I'm curious what it is. It's got to be a book from the 70s, right? So
could be a book, could be they actually had quite a few stuffed toys, and there was quite a bit going on with old Curious George.
Okay, what else, Max? Was there?
Well, that was it with regards to just anything that's relevant.
Okay, but if you do want to get in touch, thanks, Brew Blaster. It's always good to hear from you. So, but yeah, just send it to the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. And as Max said, just hit a TTR just so we know what show to send it to. So, okay, well, let's see here. I guess for lack of a better term, we're going to call this a 30 years of stupid. Go ahead, Matt. Oh, I didn't give you.
We only had like a few seconds left for break.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then when
You're
we
just
come back.
teasing it.
All right. Well, that's what I get for not looking at the clock. When we come back, we're going to have a 30 years of stupid, although in truth, we're calling this a 73 years of stupid. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Hi there. Is there a project you're working on? I know more than you. All right.
News Talk 98.9, The roar of Memphis.
Probably a nicer way you could phrase that, Alan. I mean, but anyway. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And I know we don't usually reference the commercial breaks that we have, but if you were listening, there was an update about the world's oldest chicken, Max, and I found that story pretty exciting.
It's about Pearl. It's about Pearl the Persevering.
14-year-old chicken. Now, Alan, would you eat a 14-year-old chicken, or what sort of texture would you find in there?
That's just wore out.
It doesn't age well like wine.
Okay. How do you get 14 years out of a chicken? I mean, what are they giving this thing?
Well,
it's Texas.
They've definitely kept it away from boiling oil. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I found that story. Pearl, I found that very interesting. So
I'll find something else to go from scratch, Joe.
Okay. Anyway, but let's get into what I teased before the break. So
Ooh, looks like a loose nail.
1 out of 25 ain't bad.
You don't have any code violations, do you?
Nope.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
What do you think of the house that Love built? Oh, shoot.
Okay, so it's time to talk about 30 years of stupid, although this is 73 years of stupid. And Alan, this just, it's funny. This was a week of revelation to me. I never knew you could see light through an 1.25 inch slab of marble.
Right.
Literally, I just learned that 2 days ago. And then I also learned something about my house that I never knew. And It's funny. It just goes to show we can be surrounded by something and be totally ignorant of it, for years. And I shouldn't be ignorant of this. I should have known this, but I didn't. So I'm just being very honest. But so our house is a Cape Cod style house built in 1952. Mm-hmm. And my wife, we're getting ready to do some improvements to this, and it necessitates us going through all the duct work and making sure the duct work is in order, basically.
Right.
Okay, well, Alan, we have a slab home. We don't have a crawl space. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, I, for years, thought our central heat, that the return vent, which I guess, folks, if you wonder what a return vent is, there's one vent that blows out the hot air, the cold air, and then there's another counteracting vent that's drawing air into the system, so it's kind of circulating all the air. So the return vent on my house, I just assumed went up into the wall and up into the stud. It's basically an open area through the stud, and then into the furnace. I mean, wouldn't you assume that? Isn't that typically how it works? Unless you have a crawl space.
More or less, it can work that way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I discovered after removing some vents and investigating and using my phone strategically, where you hold the camera down about a foot and then you start taking pictures, I discovered that my house was built with a sort of an unusual style where the return vents are made of concrete. They're basically concrete tunnels that go under the foundation of my home and go straight to the furnace. And I never knew that. Living there, 23 years, I never knew that. Well, what I also never knew was, because we have a front bedroom that occasionally, I hate to say it, but you get this smell that it's not the worst. It's just sort of a very slight, I would call it a musty, earthy smell.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. I mean, I cannot figure this out. Well, I figured it out when I took the vent off, Alan.
Okay.
Okay. So the vent, there's a sheet metal enclosure, you could say, that is made, and it's got a sleeve that goes into the concrete, and then this concrete tunnel goes in there. Well, this had to be back when they built the house. This thing was crushed, Alan, and so if you can imagine taking a sheet metal tube and smashing it in the middle with like a hammer or something and puckering. So I don't know, you created like a
right.
And it was almost, I'd call it a 80% blockage. And it also meant that the sand that was under the foundation of my home was leaking was spilling into this tunnel. And I was always wondering why there was no airflow in this room. And I always
Now
wondered
you know.
about this slightly musty smell that you got every now and again. And it was exciting because I cleaned it all up, and now I'm doing a repair, which actually involves some expanding foam, which you'll be proud of. But Allan, for one thing, I was just thinking somebody back in the day smashed this thing and didn't take the trouble to remove it. It was hard to get out. I had to smash it myself. I barely had any room to get my arm in there. It took about 45 minutes to get it out, but I got it out. But Allan, I'm always bragging about the old construction teams of the past, but somebody back in the day just really they shafted me. I mean, you could say, because it's literally a shaft.
I just remember you saying, like, "Oh, if I ever meet this one guy again, I want to punch him in the face."
Oh, I think I even post, if I meet the plumber that put the plumbing in my house when I get to heaven, I'm punching him in the face. So it's like, but Allan, okay, so what are we talking about in the 50s? Was it just the Wild West back then? Because how did this pass inspection? I mean, I'm sort of ashamed and appalled, but
I used to work with a painter that had little quips now and again, and he would say, I'd be working on something, and we'd be in a building and we'd find something like this. He'd look at me and just go, "Now, Allan, they closed the door."
Wait, what?
They closed the door.
What does that mean?
That means nobody saw who did this.
Oh, yeah.
Because once it's up in there, nobody can see the damage. So somebody accidentally backstepped on it, panicked, shoved it up in there, and 30 years later, 50 years later, 70 years later, sometimes 100 or 200 years later, we open up a wall and find there's soda bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Why every time the air conditioning comes on, do I have this light rattling sound in the outside wall? Probably because you have a 50, 60, 100-year-old Coca-Cola bottle rattling around in there.
Yeah.
Had a guy accidentally, it was kind of like finding lost treasure, of really old house, about 110, 15 years old, had a weird little space in the underneath the window, and great-grandpa had sat there playing quarters with this little gap in the sill, and had dropped probably 800, 900 coins down in this thing.
There you go.
So a lot of things happen. Maybe somebody saw it, maybe somebody didn't see it, because out of sight is out of mind.
Well, it's positioned in an unusual angle, so you would have to know it was there, but still.
If you didn't know it was there, it wasn't there.
That makes me think of these anthropology classes that I had in college, and they actually made a really good point about when we kind of do archaeological excavations, what we find is just ancient junk. It's just ancient trash.
We're just playing through the trash.
It's true, yeah. Well, you're right, Max, because the valuable stuff gets picked up, but it's probably just a lot of garbage. But I was doing detective work too, Allan, because I do love, I love Sherlock Holmes books, and I always love using deductive reasoning. My thought was this had to have happened when they were putting the bricks up in the home, because as far as I can tell, the way this works is you pour the foundation, you actually put these sleeves in, you pour the foundation, and then you start putting the framing and the walls up and everything. So it happened either when, if they were framing it, you would have seen this happen.
Right.
But with I don't know, it's somebody back then, I would love to know, somebody out there, I don't know if they're still around or whatever, but some jerk 73 years ago really did me wrong here with this. But it was exciting to discover it, and now fixing it. I've already noticed I vacuumed up a whole bunch of sand. I had to use a shop vac. I probably vacuumed up like 3 gallons of sand. And I've already used some expanding foam in another area, and I've got that's going to be one of my weekend projects. But it is cool. Now the air, we're already, my wife and I are noticing it just feels fresher.
A dramatic change, yeah. One of the things I usually find in the attics of commercial buildings that are more than 30, 40 years old is the air tubes the big air vents running through the maintenance spaces. How many of them have been stepped on?
It's easy to do.
It's
or drop a 2x4 on it.
And like, really, guys, how do you miss this thing? It's 2 feet around.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess it's just a constant reminder to know every square inch of your home, and don't fail to look down, because sometimes that might be where the problem's coming from.
Trust nothing.
Well, speaking of looking down, when we come back on our great moments in building history, this is going to be interesting. It is the world's biggest scale model of the Mississippi River, and it is the Mississippi River Basin Model. There you go.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Did somebody say boom?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we were briefly, we were sidetracked a little bit talking about Pearl, the 14-year-old chicken, Max, which is the world's oldest chicken. I'm thinking there needs to be some sort of special get-together. Maybe we could organize this event, Allan. Why don't we get like that 30-year-old cat Flossie and get that get Pearl the chicken, and get that 200-year-old turtle, and get all these really ancient animals that have lived well beyond their life expectancy, and have like a big celebration somewhere. Maybe a convention. I don't know.
A cookout later.
Could be sponsored by Denture Cream and Depends.
There you go. But Max, you told me that this creature, this noble bird, has survived some serious challenges.
She's gotten chicken pox. She's gotten arthritis. She survived a raccoon attack, but now she lives indoors with her quote-unquote mop friend, TV, cat, and kitten.
Raccoon attack. So, Allan, how does a chicken survive a raccoon attack? You said they're... I don't know.
Yeah, well, depending upon the type of chicken she is, they can be pretty aggressive. They can defend themselves. They've made it this far.
Okay.
As Port Miami has discovered, chickens don't need people.
Oh, what are those demon chickens that run around the neighborhood?
Those are all Banny-style chickens, very closely related to your old bird over here.
Those are like street gang chickens,
yes,
right?
They
roam the neighborhood and they terrorize everybody.
I just could picture them like holding feathers, like in their feathers, like lead pipes.
No, they all come equipped with knives.
Yeah.
They have spurs.
So why did the chicken cross the road?
Because it wanted to.
Because it could.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So watch out for those chickens, man. They're not to be underestimated.
They are tougher than people think they are.
Okay. Well, speaking of somebody that's tougher than you think he is and shouldn't be underestimated, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. I don't think in his daily activities he's typically dealing with chickens or attacks. However, he is, when it comes to the exterior protection of your home, sometimes it involves keeping out squirrels and raccoons and other types of pests. But Jay is all about the exterior protection of your home, from roofing to gutters to siding to windows. Jay he's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He's a GAF Master Elite Installer, and he's one of the top-rated roofers in the entire region. And one of the things we love about Jay is the fact that he brings a real energy and enthusiasm to every project that he's a part of. And actually, you know what? Another thing that we probably don't showcase enough is Jay is very punctual. When he says he's going to be somewhere, he's there.
Yep.
When and he's usually early. If you're not early, you're late. That's his sort of mindset. But the other thing that sets Jay apart is the fact that he is a former insurance agent, which he uses that knowledge and he uses that experience to help you if you have damage to the outside of your home or the inside. Because Jay does all interior remodeling as well. You may have problems with you may have damage, but you don't know all of the parameters when it comes to making a homeowner's claim. You don't know whether that's covered by your insurance or not. Well, Jay has the expertise to help you understand that, and if you have a claim, he can help you navigate that entire process, which is hugely helpful. It can save you thousands of dollars, and it can take a real daunting problem and turn it into something exciting. And getting those long-term problems fixed is very exciting. Every time it rains now, Alan, I just love my Big M roof that I've got on my home. It's just the house runs cooler with the ridge cap vents. It's just one of the best improvements we've ever done, and it's all thanks to our good buddy Jay Hill at Big M Roofing and Remodeling, and he always encourages you to call him directly. So when you call, you're going to talk to Jay Hill. So give him a buzz. Call him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, you guys, here we go.
Well, first I have to hijack this segment for a second because we got an epic text.
Oh, okay. Well, they always go to the front of the line, Max. So.
Well, Norman Rockwell, you were talking about noises in 30 Years is Stupid and 72 Years is Stupid. He said, years ago, I worked at a car dealership in the service department. Customer had bought a brand new car and kept bringing it in for an intermittent rattle at the front end of the vehicle. We could never figure out the noise the customer was complaining about, until we pulled the front fender one day. Between the outer fender and the inner fender, they found a Coca-Cola bottle inside with a note that said, "Bet you never find this noise."
Okay, Alan, that is pure evil, but I really... Okay, now that's pretty cool, I have to say. And a Coca-Cola bottle, those old glasses. They'll hold up, right?
We don't
centuries.
We don't mind calling that one out by name because it is very specific.
Oh my gosh,
that was
awesome?
Thick, heavy, oh my goodness, glass that archaeologists will be finding 2,500 years from now.
Wow.
So
if I had that, though, I would frame that. If I was that customer, I would put that up on my fireplace, man.
That was a Friday afternoon event. That was one of those, I'm out of here.
Why? Okay, somebody has to have the person. I'm just thinking
somebody's
of the psychology.
Last day. That was somebody's last day.
It's evil, but sort of harmless, too. But I just love the thought that goes into that. Like that I wonder, Norman Rockwell, I'd love to know more about how this played out because...
Like the guy renovating his house and he hid a stash of Halloween skeletons under the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you remodel...
The next guy remodels.
With that holding a hammer in its hand with a tool belt.
Yep.
But Norman Rockwell, gosh, this is where pictures would have been good. Now, obviously, this was back in the day before people had a phone on their whole thing. But that's one of the best things I've ever heard. Well done. That's great. And
I'm glad they found it.
Yeah, but I just wonder. I mean, and hats off to the technician or the mechanic that took the trouble to find that. I just wonder, were they tapping against it with like a rubber mallet, testing?
My gosh, who knows?
That's awesome.
That's a tough one.
And also, sorry, not to keep dwelling it, but the guy that stuck the bottle in there, he had some skills too. He had to understand that if I position the bottle just right, some poor sap is going to be hearing this, vibrating down the road. Okay, Norman Rockwell, I think you win the text line today for sure. That was great. So, all right, well, anything else, Max? So
that's it.
Okay, well then here we go. Let's dive in.
And now, great moments in building history.
Okay, well, Alan, I mean, it's funny. Some things are just named. Some things have more artistic names. Some things are very, you got to wonder what it is. This is about as straightforward as you can get. The Mississippi River Basin Model.
Yep.
It's basically, it reminds me, obviously, I'm assuming this is what inspired our Mississippi over in Mud Island, right? A scale version of the Mississippi River.
It is a replica of this, as a matter of fact.
Okay,
yes.
This thing is bigger, and you've been here. You're the only one of us that's been there.
I have been there several times. So let's go to Clinton, Mississippi, and let's go stop by, you ready, Joe? Buddy Butts Park.
And I had a buddy in high school named Dan Butts.
Yeah, well,
he had a good sense of humor because he had to.
He had to.
Okay.
The American Society of Civil Engineers basically needed to see the river.
Visualize. Okay. Can you tell us the year? Because is this pre-World War II or post?
This is because of the floods in 1927 and 1937.
horrible floods.
Massive
lots of
floods.
loss. Yeah.
So from 1943 to 1966, they designed a large-scale hydraulic model. This thing covers about 200 acres.
For those,
seriously,
I'm just thinking of how is that? What is that? Like that's over a mile long or something?
Yeah,
right?
that's 2 football fields.
No, 2 football fields.
At least one leg. Well, I'm just talking about one leg of this covers over 2 football fields. This is 200 plus acres.
Yeah, I think we're talking pretty big out because I've got 1 acre of property and I'm just imagining 200 of those.
Yes, and
it's big.
This thing is massive.
Oh wow!
So it is incredibly impressive when you're standing there and you go, "Wow, I'm standing in Minnesota."
Yeah. I mean, it literally, and it's funny because up in Minnesota, it's nothing.
50 acres in front of me is the Gulf of Mexico, and I am basically looking at 41% of the United States.
Well, this is my question, because this was not necessarily built as some tourist attraction. This was built as an engineering model so that they knew, because when you build a levee over here, you're going to flood this area downstream here. And
yes, you will.
And there's so many dynamics at play, and you got to protect this community over there. And
right. So this is a 1 to 2,000 scale, and basically you can walk the entire from the top of the country to the bottom of the country. It's about 50, 60 acres this way, and about, it covers a lot of territory. So when you start walking on this thing, and the weird thing when you get there is it kind of looks like a natural event.
Well, it's based on nature. I mean, it is based on
but you
a
look
river.
at it, and it doesn't look like somebody went out there and poured a concrete slab, because it's all the ridges and the valleys, and it's the elevations and everything about the Mississippi River. So welcome to Waterworks, and this thing has probably saved more lives than almost any safety feature in the country.
That's what I was going to ask, because, I mean, for one thing, I'm amazed at the precision that they would have had, because today I'm assuming we would have used a computer to scale, just make a virtual version of the Mississippi and then start doing tests to see which way, the water would go. But this, I'm amazed that they could get the elevations correct, because this is down to, I mean, you said it's one out of 2,000.
1 to 2,000 horizontal scale.
So if you had an eighth of an inch elevation, that translates to 2,001. I mean, that's a big difference.
Yes.
So you better get every bit of it precise.
Every tiny bit of it. Yes.
Wow. It's amazing. It's an amazing feat of engineering, and the fact that they pulled it off.
Tell you what it's like to flood Memphis.
There you go. So
we come back.
We're exploring this epic construction, the Mississippi River Basin Model, on our Great Moments in Building History.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Neighbor! Is that a wood shingle roof you got there? Let me show you something.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, nobody's bit on our National Sponge Cake Day discussion. Nope. And it's also we're rounding out National Sandwich Month.
We got one more Saturday.
Okay, one more Saturday to get in on this. But and also we've talked about chickens that have lived 14 years old. We've talked about quite a bit, Allan, and I bet you people that have just woken up are kicking themselves that they missed all of it. And I'm sorry you missed it too, but never fear, there are options, right? So
absolutely, and I'd like to welcome Iceland, of all places, to our listening family.
Okay.
Yes, we are a full podcast, so you can go to tooltalkradio.com and you can follow along with our variously asundered conversations and shenanigans all the way around the world. We are featured on Spotify and YouTube and any other place where you get your podcast from. So feel free to follow along with us. And if nothing else, We are the world's greatest background noise for getting work done.
Yeah, it'll keep you that little bit of motivation. You know, we talked about creating artificial ecosystems inside of atriums. Well, hey, you can create your own artificial motivational speech, whatever. You know.
Absolutely.
And if you're from, I'm Icelandic as well, folks. And so all of our Icelandic listeners, I'd love to get a message. Tell me where you're at, you know, what part of and what are your home improvement challenges when you have volcanoes and sub-freezing temperatures and, 6 months of darkness and everything like that. So, but hey, Allan, this is pretty interesting. We're talking in our Great Moments in Building History about the Mississippi River Basin Model. And folks, I suppose the best way for people that live here in the Mid-South, if you've been to Mud Island and you've seen that replica, well, just imagine something like that, only it takes up 200 acres.
Yes, it is.
This is
huge.
a one in... To me, I don't know how you pull this off because this was built for a purpose. This was built so that they could figure out where to build levees, where to remove levees, how tall to make them, because the country was dealing with horrible flooding from the Mississippi River.
Well, it is what the Mississippi River does. It ebbs and flows and creates. The reason the Mississippi Valley is so rich is, basically all the sediments and stuff. So between 1949 and 1973, about 73 is when we began working on more, technology was catching up to us. New technologies were coming in, but they used to basically bring the water trucks out there, and you could basically simulate the entire day of the river in about 5 minutes.
Literally, they just fill it up and watch where the water goes.
They had the exact flow for the normal base river, and they would begin that, and then you could, what happens if we have a flood in Illinois? What happens if we have a flood in Memphis? What happens if we have a flood in St. Louis? What happens if we have a flood hundreds of miles away, way up the Missouri River or way up the Ohio River? What happens when, so the scale of this was so that honestly we could insert a problem and see what the results were in real time.
It's that can-do attitude, though. This is an epic this doesn't maybe until you really realize the engineering and the math involved, because you and I were talking off the air. They didn't have lasers back then, Allan. They had to use a level and surveying equipment, and it's like we were talking about. Okay, if you're surveying the Mississippi River and you have 1 point over here, and then you're looking at something 10 miles away,
right?
If that level bubble is off just a fraction, it could be off 10 feet by the time you get
easily.
It's nuts how precise you have to be.
Yeah, so this was a very aggressive facility. Outdoors, absolutely massive. They have since built an indoor version.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the Army Corps of Engineers at Waterworks. They've built an interior version, including a water motion simulation tank.
Oh, because we haven't really talked about the currents and
what happens when you put a sandbank right here, and what happens when you do this, and what happens when a tree stump gets stuck on something, and because all of these things have to do with the motion of the mighty Mississippi.
Right.
And let's face it, in Memphis, Tennessee, this is a huge feature of the town.
Yeah.
We're the bluff side, and bless their hearts, Arkansas is the far side or the flooding side of the Mississippi. Not to say it can't get so high that our side doesn't flood.
Right.
So, so welcome to the power and unpredictability of this massive, massive river.
It's a great feat of construction and engineering, but Allan, it actually I think translates pretty well into our as a homeowner to study something like this because I'm thinking about it. When it's pouring down rain, our inclination is to stay in the house and to not. But I'm always a fan, especially when you get one of these torrential rains, to at least go to the window and maybe take pictures and study. Where is the water puddling in my yard, and where is it draining, and where is it running? Because Down the road, you may say, you know what, I can't wait to build this 30-foot by 20-foot workshop in my backyard. Well, if you position it wrong, it's either going to flood or it might direct water to your house or to your neighbor's house, or it might wash out that, you got to consider all the ramifications of water flow.
The best example I can give you of that was a backyard that was wrecked by a tree.
Oh.
So the way the yard was designed, the water flow, the house had the perfect ramp for about 20 feet from the back door to the middle of the backyard, where the water would flow away from the house and would kind of hit the center of the yard and drain off to the sides. That is how the landscape people had designed this yard to drain.
Right.
And the homeowner came in and put a cute little tree halfway between those areas. Well, 10 years later, they keep getting water in the house and they can't figure out why. And we walked out there, and of course, you could see the original slope on half of the yard.
Right.
But where the tree had been dropping leaves and had been raising the soil level around it. So it utterly shifted the direction the water could go for half the house.
There you go. It doesn't take much. Any change is going to affect
And that's why if you go get a chance to see something like this,
yeah,
it is shocking and educating at the tiniest little change here down the line can make massive differences.
Oh, yeah. We're all connected, and water levels, it finds its own level, and you don't want it to level out inside your house. But anyway, pretty interesting, and there's lots of YouTube videos about it. The Mississippi River Basin Model. Well, Allan, once again, the time waits for no one, so it's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my buddy, Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.
Now go eat some sponge cake.